Leah O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
All right, ladies, let's talk some Jaguars football. I feel like every day is a good day to talk Jaguars football. Oh, wait, no, we're not going to talk Jaguars football. We're going to talk about the other teams in the NFL because we always talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll get to the Jaguars later. But, Taylor, you had an idea about the fact that the Jaguars made several, honestly, huge moves in the offseason when it comes to the brand new front office, new EVP, new head coach, new general manager. And collectively, the three of them decided to move up for Travis Hunter. And of course, we know he's going to play both offense and defense. So he is going to be expected to be a game changer for this Jacksonville Jaguars team. So when it comes to the other teams in the league, did they make some bold moves as well as far as the AFC and the NFC? Offensively and defensively. Obviously, some of them brought in new quarterbacks, so you could certainly go that route. Some of them, some defensive players. But yeah, so you had the question, which AFC offensive player, AFC defensive player, and then in the NFC, same thing, do you think is going to make the biggest impact?
Yeah, I think that, and it kind of sparked it because every list that you see, and I was going through, I think it was a CBS Sports article, and they went through and they said the biggest offseason move by each team. And the majority of them, if there was a new coach, the new coach was the biggest offseason move. Here they had Liam Cohen and how he can kind of fix Trevor. But the majority of them were all that. And if there was a new coach, that was obviously a thing. If there was a new quarterback, that was kind of the thing.
Sure.
And so there was kind of a trend, and it got me thinking that there's a lot more to this for a lot of these teams. And so let's put those the coaches aside and look at the actual pieces that they added between free agency and the draft, and what would that look like? Who would say is the biggest impact of the Jaguars? And I think the majority of people would say Travis Hunter. And then that goes to be like, okay, well, then the biggest impact that you made in this offseason outside of the coaching and GM as a player that is helping both sides of the ball. No other team is able to say that. And so what does that look like for other teams around the AFC and the NFC? And so I do think that that's kind of what sparked it, is this, we got a player that we're expecting to kind of impact at least to some capacity on both sides of the ball. And so I'll start with my AFC defensive player. Okay. I think that there's a lot of ways I could go with this, and it depends. You kind of go through and you see which team struggled in pass rush last year, which team struggled against the run, or whatever the case may be. And so, but I went with a first-round pick in Malachi Starks with the Ravens.
That's exactly who I have too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think that the Ravens had the most passing yards allowed this last season. The only team worse was the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so I do think it did get a little bit better throughout the season. If you go through and you look game by game, it did kind of start to figure things out late in the season. I just think he's such a playmaker. And he was somebody that all season early, game one last year, you were already talking about Malachi Starks being a first-round pick, and probably before that. So I do think they have him as they're listed as their free safety. And so you're going to have that guy that's going to be able to bait the quarterback a little bit. You'll have a guy that's going to be able to help against the run, which they don't need that as much, but having another backup plan against an already good run-stopping group, I think, is also beneficial. So it was hard for me not to go that, just because if you look at a team who seems almost fully complete, they are, aside from that secondary. And then now you kind of feel like you added a guy across from Kyle Hamilton, by the way, who's one of the best safeties in the league. That duo's scary.
That's exactly why I went with that pick too. Malachi Starks, we saw him up close and personal, certainly playing in the SEC, but also he's going to a team that the environment defensively, especially for the Ravens, is always good. And so you get to have a guy in Kyle Hamilton who's one of the best safeties in the league opposite you. And you already have a really good defense overall. The pass rush is really good. So that's who I went with too. I thought for sure we would all have different ones for all of these. Mia, who you got?
Man, mine is completely off the wall.
Okay.
I don't think this team is necessarily making the postseason in year one under their new head coach. But
that's fine. Some of mine are not teams that I think are going to be good. I just think they'll make it.
I just think it's the biggest splash. And it's the team that spent the most this offseason in free agency, and that's the New England Patriots. They had the most cap space available, and Mike Vrabel and company indeed went on a shopping spree. Do I think Harold Landry on his last leg is going to dramatically change the sack production for the New England Patriots? I do not. Do I think Milton Williams, who was such a cog in the machine in Philadelphia, is going to immediately help this Patriots defense get back to what it was under Bill Belichick? I'm not so sure. Carlton Davis, are you the burnt toast version that we saw against the Houston Texans once upon a time? Or are you perhaps maybe finding a renaissance of sorts now with Mike Vrabel and that defensive staff? I don't know. But the point is that they weren't afraid to go out and spend big money, a four-year, $104 million deal.
We're just up in the Northeast.
Yes, exactly, truly.
Yes.
I was with the New Englanders. A 4-year, $104 million deal to Milton Williams. 3 years, $43.5 million to Harold Landry. Another free agent deal to Robert Spillane, the linebacker who previously was with the Raiders. Carlton Davis gets a 3-year, $60 million deal. I'll throw Caleb Chase on in there just for fun. A 1-year, $5 million deal. And so the point is that they went out and they tried to dramatically change a front seven, because I do think they have a cornerstone piece in Christian Gonzalez on the outside opposite Carlton Davis, if Carlton Davis is still be lined up outside. But essentially, after the blood clots that have plagued Christian Barmore's career the last 2 years, Mike Vrabel said, I'm bringing in as many pieces as I possibly can, bringing in those veteran stopgaps in order to raise the floor and at the very least find a baseline for a team that 2-3 years ago, even with all of their issues on the offensive side of the ball with Mac Jones under center, was a top 10 defense in Bill Belichick's final years.
Yeah, very Vrabel too. Very Vrabel offseason.
Yeah, for sure. Just to be different, I'll go with Derek Harmon for the Steelers, the defensive end out of Oregon, because you're already talking about a defense that has a guy like a TJ Watt, a Cameron Hayward. So just so we have some variety in there. But look, if you're talking about a game that's going to be fun year in and year out, now that the Steelers have potentially a much better quarterback than they've had, Ravens-Steelers becomes a whole lot more intriguing because, again, those defenses are both really, really good. All right, let's get it to the AFC offensive player.
So my offensive player is the Jets' Mason Taylor.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
So, and this is one where I'm not expecting the Jets to be some like super high-powered, all of a sudden win 10, 11, 12 games. But you guys know I do love Justin Fields.
I thought you would go with Justin Fields.
No, and I honestly tried to avoid the quarterbacks because I feel like that's a little easier to do. But in the best parts of Justin Fields and his time in Chicago during that 2.5 seasons of starts that he had, when targeting Cole Kmet, who Cole Kmet and Mason Taylor also remind me a good amount about each other. They're very similar in size. They're both 6'5", 6'6", 250, 260. More of receiving tight ends when they came into the league. Cole Kmet has developed beyond that. He's developed more of the blocking side when he needed to, but it was a struggle in the beginning, and Mason Taylor kind of has some of the same critiques when it comes to that. But when Justin Fields was targeting Cole Kmet in his time in Chicago, he had a 77% completion percentage, 12 touchdowns, 1 pick for almost 1,700 yards during that time. He was such a massive piece of of the success of Justin Fields. It was like his comfort blanket, and I could fully picture that kind of taking over and being the same role and kind of same development process between the two, him helping Mason helping him, because when you have that guy too that you see in the slot a lot that opens up the middle of the field, which Justin Fields also had those moments because of Cole Kmet where that was his biggest strength, and he struggled in other areas, couldn't throw to the right, couldn't throw deep in certain times, but that midfield slot area with Cole Kmet was one of the biggest reasons that you saw the Justin Fields that felt like he was going to break out at some point and just never fully did. And so I do think that player, in addition to some of the other offensive pieces, but to me, that alone is going to help Justin Fields just kind of find some security in that offense.
Sure, in these conversations, certainly one player isn't going to change everything unless it is a quarterback coming in. Yeah. If for some reason Cam Ward is able to completely elevate the Titans, most of the time, it's the environment and putting all of that together, certainly with a good offensive scheme too. Mia, I'm going to go with someone who is not going to surprise you in the least, or Taylor either.
Yeah, okay.
Raiders running back Ashton
Jeanty.
Oh,
wow. No, I did not think you were going in that direction.
I had him on my list, but I had a feeling you were, so I didn't.
I was. This is the guy that I thought might end up here, and everyone we talked to about Ashton Jeanty talked about his high character, but also just how incredibly good he is, and we saw it in the playoff as well as the regular season at breaking those tackles. You can't get him to the ground. And while the Raiders also upgraded, I think, the quarterback position in signing Geno Smith, I feel like Ashton Jeanty is going to be a huge part of their offense. And this is a guy that I would expect to have over 1,000 yards his rookie season.
See, I had two.
Okay.
Because I was prepared in case you took what I thought was the most obvious upgrade in addition to the AFC offense as a whole, and that's Aaron Rodgers staying in the AFC and going to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You knew Taylor would go that route.
I knew Taylor was, and I thought you may take it just because it's low-hanging fruit.
No, I'm not excited about him that much.
I'm not either. Again, in our top six, or in our 16th rankings of the 16 starting quarterbacks in the AFC, I have him outside the top 10 at this juncture of his career. But at the same time, I do think it changes the complexity of an offense that was facing starting Mason Rudolph under center. So that is where I think it will have an impact. And then you couple that with the acquisition of DK Metcalf. I actually thought that the more underrated sneaky pick that I was going to make here was Chip Kelly as offensive coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders. A lot of folks on the streets very high on Chip leaving UCLA to rehabilitate his career in the friendly confines of Columbus, Ohio, win a national title, not have to recruit, just help Brian Day organize the offense. Oh, now you get back to the NFL, which was the play when you left UCLA. And I'm very excited to see what he and Pete Carroll are able to do out in the desert, not just because of what Ashton Genty offers, but because of the relationship between Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. Not to mention another player we all loved in the draft process, and Jack Betch, who has to play a central role to that offense, given the fact that their wide receiver room is as barren as they come. Oh, and by the way, they also have Brock Bowers.
They do.
So yeah, throw all that together in a nice pot of stew, and I am very excited to see what Chip Kelly is cooking.
Yeah, I think the Raiders could be very interesting, honestly.
Absolutely. And Jaguars play the Raiders, of course, in Las Vegas again this year, early November. And so, yeah, I have that one certainly circled on the calendar. Let's get it to the NFC, the offensive player and the defensive player on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Catch the draft and accelerate to the checkered flag.
Who's gonna win at Pocono?
This Sunday at Pocono Raceway, powered by the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local Union 234 and 1010XL.
June is Men's Health Month, and here's your reminder to be proactive and get screened for early detection at Ackerman Cancer Center. Many cancer instances are largely preventable and treatable. So take steps now to minimize your risk factors at AckermanCancerCenter.com.
Ready to add some value to your day? The everyday deals at Sonny's have got you covered. Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, all you can eat ribs for $19.99, and our new loaded barbecue potato for $11. Available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Here for my friends at Duck Duck Rooter, your one-stop shop for plumbing, septic, and air conditioning all under one roof. So whether it's a leak, a clog, or your system just won't cool, they've got you covered. 3 different companies? Heck no. Just call one. My friends at Duck Duck Rooter. Don't take my word for it. Check out their 5-star reviews on Google. From the moment you call to the moment the tech solves your issue, you will receive first-class service every step of the way. Give them a ring at 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. One call does it all.
Frank Frangie here. I was talking to a buddy the other day. His HOA told him his old fence had to go. I said, man, call Coil Fencing. They've been around the block since 1927. Heck, they probably built half the fences in Jacksonville. They do it all. Tough chain link for security. Those fancy aluminum ones the HOA actually likes. Nearly a century of keeping yards safe and looking good. If you need a fence, call Coil. You can trust the folks at Coil. 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com. COYLE Jacks.com.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
You'll always feel good when you send someone a Kuhn Flowers floral or plant arrangement. This is Max Fink with 1010XL, and no matter what the reason, Kuhn Flowers has always come through for me. Order online at kuhnflowers.com.
Hey, Hicken here. Tired of glasses or contacts? Discover customized vision solutions at Bowden & Associates. Dr. Bowden's team offers cutting-edge options like Evo implantable Collamer lenses or refractive lens exchange and classic LASIK, designed to fit your life. Picture perfect vision for reading, driving, or just enjoying the day. It's easier than you think. Call now for your free screening. Bowden & Associates, they're keeping the First Coast focused.
Take a radio boat ride with Captain Cabot on the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show. Reeled in by the Pest Pros at Royal Pest Services. And awaken 180 weight loss.
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010XL AM.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
Have you been diagnosed with moderate to severe opioid use disorder? You may qualify for a new clinical research study. Dr. Ferdinand Formoso is now enrolling participants to evaluate the effectiveness of a non-opioid medication treatment option for OUD. Qualified participants will receive study-related care at no cost and may be eligible for reimbursement of travel and accommodations. To qualify, applicants must be 18 to 65 years old, have been diagnosed with moderate to severe opioid use disorder, and have not been on medication to treat opioid use in the last 3 months. The study lasts up to 22 weeks, with weekly visits during treatment. If you're ready to explore a new path forward, visit OUDstudy.com for more details and qualifications. Take the first steps and visit OUDstudy.com. That's OUDstudy.com. OUDstudy.com.
Maxed out on credit card, struggling with high interest debt? You could pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, it's Prosser here. Get cash out now without touching your low-rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan program at Loan Pronto is amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated their kitchen, and cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That's a huge turnaround. Instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. That's Loan Pronto. Listen, your home equity is yours. Use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy, low monthly payment. Call Loan Pronto now for a free instant appraisal for your home and see how much cash you can get today. Loan Pronto is an A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and have nearly 2,500 5-star Google reviews. Call now and start the conversation. Go to loanpronto.com or call 999-1508. That's loanpronto.com.
Jacksonville, Hickens calling it. Checkmate Coating, my MVP. Tough, slick floors that dominate any space.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, breaking news.
I joked with Taylor and Lauren that I never anticipated doing an ad read and suddenly having my phone blow up because people have heard about a sale of the Tampa Bay Rays and the city of Jacksonville could somehow be involved. Hold your horses, folks. Here is what we know so far. According to Sportico.com, there is a report out there that Patrick, I'm going to butcher his last name even though I own one of his homes, Patrick Zalewski, the CEO, the developer of Dreamfinders Homes, is leading the charge and is leading the group on it leads the group that apparently could be in advanced talks to buy the Tampa Bay Rays, a deal that is valued at roughly $1.7 billion. According to the report from Sportico, Zalewski has signed a letter of intent to purchase the team. A letter of intent is not a purchase agreement. The deal ultimately may not be completed. It is of note that not only is he the founder and CEO of Dreamfinders Homes, but known limited partners in this group do include Ken Babby, who owns a pair of minor league baseball teams you may be familiar with, the Akron Rubber Ducks, and of course, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Bill Cosgrove, who is the CEO of Strongsville, an Ohio-based Union Home Mortgage, is also part of this group. So this is not to say that the Tampa Bay Rays are relocating to Jacksonville, folks, especially because Dreamfinders Homes does build homes in 10 different states. But the Tampa Bay Rays for sale, that is an interesting development. And as of this writing, the Rays have not been made available for comment.
It doesn't surprise me because Stuart Sternberg has not yet been able to work something out, the current Rays owner, with whether it's Tampa Bay or St. Petersburg, as far as the building of a brand new stadium that's going to be in one location for years to come. And I know they've been fighting over which location, which city it was going to be for a long time. We obviously know the Tropicana Field lost its roof after the hurricane damage, but Stuart Sternberg overall obviously has been viewed for many years now as one of the cheap owners in baseball, not as cheap as maybe some. He has roughly between what I read, 800 million net worth to 1.25 billion. So if you're talking about a sale of 1.7 billion, then certainly he increases his net worth and he doesn't have to worry anymore about having to deal with all the different moves that come with a baseball team. I would love for the Tampa Bay Rays to relocate to Jacksonville, but I have been told in the past, that Jacksonville itself as a city does not have enough Fortune 500 companies to sustain a Major League Baseball team. That you have to have a lot of Fortune 500 companies, or I think Jacksonville might have 4 or 5 at this point, and you need more than that in order to fill those suites, the most expensive seating. And so that's why minor league team, the Jumbo Shrimp, have always done well, and we've always had minor league baseball thriving here in Jacksonville, but a major league team would be hard. I don't know if maybe there's a way around that, if you are somehow able to create a different revenue stream the way that the Jaguars go to London. If you can bring the Rays around the state of Florida, I have no idea. But that part doesn't surprise me, like I said, because Stuart Sternberg and a lot of Rays fans have not wanted him to be the owner long term.
So as of this writing currently, if you are to include grass seating, bleacher seating, ViStar Ballpark can hold 11,000 fans. That would obviously be a whole heck of a lot less than your average Major League Baseball park. Although,
it's the same with Steinbrenner Field.
Given the fact that we've got Steinbrenner Field and we've got the they're just the Athletics. They're not Sacramento A's. They're not the Oakland A's. They're just the Athletics. Playing in a AAA ballpark as well. I'm fascinated. Like I said, look, Dreamfinders Homes are good friends over at Dreamfinders. They build homes in 10 different states. I think that a lot of people nationally are seeing, it's a Jacksonville-based company. This must mean they're moving the Rays to Jacksonville. I don't believe that to be the case. I don't have any other intel outside of my own prior knowledge and what I'm reading in this article, which, by the way, since a couple people on the YouTube chat line asked, what is Sportico? All I can tell you is this. The reporter who is reporting it, Kurt Badenhausen, previously worked at Forbes. You probably have heard of that publication. And so I don't think that this is just, some rando coming out with a report. I would think that this is pretty well sourced. And the fact that I have communication from folks in the Tampa area reaching out to me about it says that this probably has some legs. Yeah. I wouldn't be booking your season tickets just yet to the Jacksonville Rays.
I'm also interested too, because I feel like it's almost like this cycle that you can't break if you don't get another pro sports team. If you get another pro sports team, I think things begin to grow. But if you don't start there, and I was having the conversation, it's wild that this is happening today because I was just having this conversation last night that I really do think that an MLB team or an NHL team would be supported well here in Jacksonville. And you can tell that just by the minor league teams that happen. And especially if you do it right. And so I do think that it's an interesting topic of whether or not, and when it comes to the Fortune 500 things, I would be interested to see the difference between St. Pete, but I guess they're getting Tampa and St. Pete in there. But how much can you spread that out too into surrounding areas of Jacksonville? And if you were to do something like that, to Lauren's point, you'd be able to kind of pull some strings, and then maybe after that, more of these Fortune 500 companies want to come here because now you have multiple teams that they can focus on rather than one team that hasn't won a lot of football in the last 30 years. But it's fascinating, and we're not jumping to that conclusion. But I think the Rays situation it's kind of sad because it's just one of those things where they have the majority of the time have had a bottom 5 payroll in baseball. They've made the playoffs 9 times since 2008.
They were just in the World Series.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good things that organization has been able to do on the field. They just haven't been able to replicate that behind the scenes.
Yeah, the new stadium that they were originally discussing in St. Pete was $1.3 billion, but they're not moving forward with that, at least the last reports as of March, where they were not able to come to terms. And so, if you would like to come to Jacksonville and bring some of those Fortune 500 companies, come on up.
The irony is not lost on me, and I say this with all love and respect to our friends in the city of Orlando, but the constant pitching of the dream and this idea of bringing baseball to Orlando. There's been multiple groups that have held press conferences and tried to say, yes, we are going to bring a Major League Baseball team out of thin air to the city of Orlando. I know it's not out of thin air, folks, but wouldn't it be funny if after all of those announcements and bids and attempts,
they end up getting the Rays?
No, the Jacksonville ends up getting the Rays. I think it would be hilarious.
Yeah, Orlando already hates Jacksonville for so many other reasons.
Hilarious.
So yeah, it would also be funny if the Marlins decided to move to Orlando and the Rays want to move to Jacksonville because it does feel like the Miami Marlins are not supported or the Florida Marlins are not supported, and now the Rays are certainly in flux, at least to that. All right, let's get it back to the NFL on the other side. Give our NFC offensive player that we think is going to make the biggest impact, as well as the NFC defensive player, and Taylor has a tangent as well. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
He's the toughest guy on our team.
Thinks he's Rambo.
Tom McManus.
Rambo is a...
Fridays on Jaguars Today, 10 to noon on the flagship station of the Jaguars, 1010XL.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage risk, maximize opportunities, and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys are business-oriented lawyers, equally comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
This is Mark Nato. My son Justin injured his hand playing baseball for JU. Southeast Orthopedic Specialist performed surgery just a few days later, and within 5 weeks, he was cleared to play in the ASUN baseball tournament. Our family has trusted Southeast Orthopedic Specialists for years. For any orthopedic injury, let Southeast Orthopedic Specialists take care of you too.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Lauren Brooks here. At Hodges Mazda, they are proud of their great reputation in the Jacksonville community. As your hometown Mazda dealer, their high customer service standards and their huge inventory of both new and used cars provide their customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional, non-commissioned sales team put your best interest first without exception. And all new vehicle purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Package. Visit them online at hodgesmazda.com or stop in today to learn more and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
This is Hayes Carline, and I'm so proud of my guy, Leon Searcy.
Man, I used to want to eat all the time, but just 1 month on Physician Guided Weight Loss, and I've already dropped 15 pounds.
And I lost 25. No side effects, just results.
The GLP-1 curbs my cravings and keeps me feeling full. It's been easier than I expected, and I feel amazing.
Their staff is great, and best of all, no surprise costs.
If you're ready to bring sexy back this summer, visit pgweightloss.com.
Physician Guided Weight Loss, safe, doctor supervised.
And it works.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
Your home is more than walls and a roof. It's where you breathe, drink, and power through life. At Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to keep it all running smoothly. From clean, cool air to clean water, reliable power to expert plumbing, we do it all. For over 35 years, families have trusted Donovan to make their homes healthier, safer, and more comfortable. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing today, 904-270-COOL, where health meets home.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On June 18, 2000, Tiger Woods wins his first U.S. Open at the 100th U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, and he wins in record-setting fashion by 15 strokes.
Ryan and Angela Wall here with Window World. You've heard us talk about it. Window World, the #1 window replacement company in the USA, selling over 1 million windows each year for the past 8 years.
That's a lot of satisfied customers, and why J.D. Powers has awarded Window World Best in Customer Satisfaction 3
3 out of 4 years.
Window World stands behind their slogan, simply the best for less. With Window World, you get top quality windows at a price that leaves more of your money in your bank account, and you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement industry. When compared to our competition, there is none. See for yourself. Call the competition. Get quotes from them. But before you buy, get Window World's free estimate and compare the quality of the windows and the price.
You'll see.
And when your new Window World windows are installed and they're saving you money on your energy bills, if anything goes wrong with those windows, Window World and I will be there to make it right. That's my guarantee.
Call Window World today. Start saving money on your new windows and your energy bills and take vacation with your savings. Window World, online at windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors and siding.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Love is in the air. Beards Diamonds. Listen up, couples. Got you a great offer. Hicken here. For a limited time, buy one, get one free on all wedding bands. That's right. When you buy his wedding band, get hers free. Buy hers, get his free. Save up to $10,000, man. Are you about to get married? Been married for years, thinking it's time for an upgrade? Don't miss the deal of the year on the ultimate symbol of love. Beards has hundreds of bands, top designers, white gold, yellow gold, rose gold, titanium, platinum, plain bands, channel set bands. You get the idea. Nobody has a bigger or better selection of wedding bands than Beards. So get to Beards now. Find the wedding band that reflects your style and your personality. Buy one, get the second one free. The big box corporate jewelry stores can't or won't do this, but Beards can. And it's happening through June 23rd. Buy one wedding band, get the second one free. Don't miss this opportunity to celebrate your eternal love with the eternal symbol. For a limited time, buy one, get one free on all wedding bands. That's right. When you buy his wedding band, get hers free. Buy hers, get his free. Shop local. Beards Diamonds at the St. John's
Chipped
Town
windshield
Center.
can turn into a big problem fast. Lauren Brooks here. Trust Novus Glass of Jacksonville for expert repair and replacement. Call 904-289-2905 for Novus Glass in Orange Park. 904-289-2905.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Wednesday afternoon. We just moved the Tampa Bay Rays to Jacksonville.
Let's go.
What else can we get accomplished around these parts?
So apparently FSU and looks like I'll pull up the report if we want some more breaking news. Not that this is really breaking. It's just with regards to the House settlement. So it looks like FSU has formally approved that process, according to our friends at warchant.com. The Florida Board of Governors has passed an amendment allowing FSU and other state schools to direct $22.5 million in auxiliary dollars per year to athletics. This money will be used to cover revenue sharing with athletes as part of the House settlement. So kind of
I don't think that they had a choice.
Yeah, kind of just it's kind of just protocol, but it's official, and $22.5 million headed to cover paying student athletes.
In addition to all the NIL dollars as well, although we'll see if some of those NIL deals now go down because the school, the boosters can say the school can pay you. I no longer have to foot that bill. All right, so we get back to the NFL. The NFC offensive player we think will make the most impact, and this is when it comes to rookies and or free agents. I will tell you, I'll go with the Saints and the fact that they drafted Tyler Shuck. And I think the fact that, yes, he was drafted in the second round showed you that they liked him, but more importantly, Carr is no longer there. Derek Carr has medically retired. So therefore, Tyler Shuck, in my opinion,
their biggest offseason move is getting rid of Derek.
Their biggest offseason move is the fact that they replaced him, which was smart of them. And yeah, they don't have him anymore. So Shuck is going to be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, in my estimation. So therefore, he's going to be asked to make a big impact.
To that point, I almost said for the AFC, the biggest offensive move was the Browns getting all the quarterbacks.
All of them trying to figure something out.
Yes, and then on the inverse of that, the Colts not having a quarterback. So, I mean, hey, listen, we can put that as an option, as a nominee for the biggest impact in both conferences.
Yeah, the Saints quarterback situation is also one of the interesting ones. I think the Browns and the Saints are two of the ones that we talk about the most, just because the Browns is just kind of crazy. The Saints is just very unpredictable. You don't really know much about any of these guys, or what you do know is very minimal and kind of but I do think that everything, when I was talking to people pre-draft process, a lot of people were really high on Chuck, and a lot of them honestly were like, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up slipping up into the first or second round, because I'm hearing so many scouts really like this guy above, and they were saying Shedeur Sanders, which doesn't sound as crazy now because he fell so far. But at the time, when you're talking about that in the beginning of April, when Shedeur was someone that people were talking about going second or third or something like that, it did sound a little crazy. So that will be interesting to watch. But I do think that, especially going from what they already had on the roster, like with Derek Carr gone, what was left there to having a young quarterback that they're able to develop and figure things out. I like that one. I'm going to go.
Are you going to homer it?
I'm not homering.
Okay.
I didn't homer. Believe me, I wanted to so badly.
Because I was going to do it for you, so go ahead. You could go ahead.
I wanted to homer very badly, but people yell at me on the text line. But I'm going to say Ted McMillan with the Panthers.
I thought about that one too.
I think that when you go through and you look at Bryce Young last year and the before he was benched and after he was benched, the complete turnaround that Bryce Young had in that moment. And we talk about it a lot in baseball, of like sending them down and they come back, and you don't see it often work in the NFL where you bench somebody and they come back and they look like a different guy after that period of time, especially quarterback, because that's so hard and reps are what make you a better quarterback. So when you're losing those, it's difficult, and it feels like sometimes they lose the locker room and there's dysfunction. But after his benching, he came back in those final 10 games. He was averaging 210 yards a game, threw 15 touchdowns, just 6 picks during that time, completed over 60% of his passes, when before that he had 0 touchdowns, like 4 picks, I think it was. He only was completing 52% of his passes. So it was a drastic change between that before and after. And then now you add a weapon like Tet, who obviously people had also mocked to the Jags, and that's how high people were kind of thought of him in that receiving world. And we know the receivers in this draft weren't not nearly as what they were last year, but he was still one that a lot of people had a lot of faith in and possibly being drafted in the top 5. And so I do think that he's going to impact that offense a lot. And then you add him to kind of Leggett, who him and Bryce Young started getting that connection formed a little bit later into the season, and Adam Thielen, who has that veteran presence and kind of can help that room in that area, and him and Bryce Young also started kind of forming connection late. So there's not any absolute studs, I feel like, in that offensive room, so I feel like Tet could come out and shine quickly.
Can Tet understand Leggett?
Let's just have an interview between the two of them.
Mia, who you got for the NFC offensive player that will make the biggest impact?
Yeah, so I will do what Taylor is not allowed, evidently, to do, according to the Heeligans on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. I will take setting the plate in Chicago, not just hiring Ben Johnson as their head coach, but signing Drew Dahlman to a 3-year, $42 million contract, trading for Jonah Jackson, trading for Joe Thuney, completely flipping the interior of the offensive line on its head and saying, yes, we are committed to running the football. Yes, we are committed to protecting Caleb Williams. Honorable mentions, if I may. I think we're sleeping a little bit on what the Vikings have done, both offensive and defensive side of the ball, for what it's worth in free agency this offseason. But the fact that they went out and they signed the cast-offs from the Indianapolis Colts and said, we have now fixed our offensive line. I don't think it's going to bear as much fruit as the situation in Chicago personally, just because I think Ryan Kelly's getting up there in years. 5 years, $88 million for Will Fries, who's coming off of an injury. Like, it's a lot of money. Yeah. It's a lot of money, to be clear. So I think in terms of the signings and the acquisitions along the offensive line, I would say point Bears as opposed to the Vikings, but I did want to give the Vikings some love. And by the way, I would also throw an honorable mention the Niners way, because if for nothing else, they have said by their actions that Brock Purdy is their guy. They're going to pay Brock Purdy, and in turn, that means that the draft picks that they acquired in April and that they will draft next year, when they have, I believe it's tied with the Jags, or now with the Jags trade for Travis Hunter, they might be second, the most draft picks in next April's NFL draft. And they have to hit on those guys to surround them with Brock Purdy, who will be paid handsomely over the next few years.
Yeah, there's a ton you could go to. I mean, if Deebo Samuel at the age of 30 plays well, then the Commanders added a huge piece there on offense.
Yeah, and he's looking slow, though, in camp. Have you seen those videos? It's like very slow Deebo. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know if this is just certain drills or if he's slowed down, because
he and Kelsey.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Although Kelsey's lost weight, so that way he can get back to where.
And also so that he can jet across the country with T Swift. This one's off the YouTube chat. Social says Emeka Egbuka in Tampa for his offensive.
Tampa in general, their offense is already good, and then you add more playmakers in it, because they had it was Emeka and there was another one that they added offensively.
No, because they re-signed Chris Godwin.
I thought there was somebody
So they
else.
re-signed.
That's why I didn't pick Emeka Egbuka is because he's the third receiver.
Oh, no, it was Tez Johnson is who you're thinking of, Taylor.
Okay.
They
already
drafted
have Jalen McMillan, too. So they have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, and then so that's why I didn't pick Egbuka because I just don't know how much he's going to make an impact as a rookie.
I think another conversation at some point over the next 5 weeks is going to have to be who has the best supporting cast in football. And if nothing else, if we're just to go based off wide receiver rooms, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers may have the best wide receiver room in football.
Yeah,
and it's perhaps the best wide receiver room, best position room that no one is talking about. Speaking of wide receivers, Robert also casts a vote on the YouTube chat for Devontae Adams, now a member of the Los Angeles Rams.
Again, a little older in age, which is why I wouldn't have picked him, but certainly he can make an impact. We saw him up close and personal last year when he was with the Jets playing against the Jaguars, and he burned the secondary. But then again, who didn't burn the secondary last year? Other than maybe the Vikings didn't because that game was low scoring. All right, and finally, NFC defensive player that will make the biggest impact. Taylor, I'll start with you.
I'm going to go with a familiar name around these parts, and that is Dante Fowler Jr. in Dallas. Him across from Michael Parsons. By the way, if you didn't know, Dante Fowler had 10.5 sacks last year in Washington and was it was masterful to watch him and some of the things he did on the defense last year. And this
I don't know why they didn't keep him.
Very weird, honestly, very strange, because I do think that, and they lost Jonathan Allen too. So
to the Vikings.
Yeah, and so there's a couple pieces to me defensively that was like they didn't even have a great defense, but two of your better parts of your defense you let kind of walk away. But even if he's not getting 10.5, 11, 12 sacks, I think that if you're getting 6, 7 from him across from Michael Parsons, who obviously we know is one of the best pass rushers in the league, and that's kind of what Dallas's specialty has been, I think it's just going to be huge. Another thing with Dante Fowler is he's one of the best defensive ends when it comes to forcing fumbles. Like that is one of his specialties. Every single year he's played, he's had multiple forced fumbles and fumble recoveries. That's just kind of what he does. So I do think that just kind of interrogates a lot of the opposing quarterbacks and gets in people's head. And now you have Michael Parsons on the other side and you're running away from Fowler and Parsons. So I do think that now heading into year 10 of his career, you're seeing the best Fowler that you've seen, which is kind of wild.
I went with Michael Williams, another Georgia guy. Clearly watching those Georgia defensive players week in and week out under Kirby Smart is very impressive to me because I think the 49ers drafting him and adding him to their defense and going opposite Nick Bosa, like good luck opposing quarterbacks, to your point.
And by the way, not just Michael Williams out there in the Bay Area, their first 3 draft picks in San Francisco, all along the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I can understand why, because they have the last few years, I feel like they used to have one of the best defenses in all of the country, and then it's fallen off a little bit. And so I think they realized they had gotten a little old, a little long in the tooth, and so they needed to kind of revamp that entire defense. But yeah, Michael Williams is really, really good. He's going to be incredible with the 49ers. Mia, who you got?
My first big off-season acquisition, that is a draft pick between the 4 picks that we each have between the AFC and the NFC. And so for my impact defensive acquisition on the NFC side, it will be Abdul Carter, the 3rd overall pick to the New York Giants. I don't know how the Giants feel about Kayvon Thibodeau. Certainly their actions suggest they may be out on him. But what I do know is this, especially having grown up in the shadows of Gotham, the New York Giants have won their 4 Super Bowls when they have had a top 10 defense, and specifically when they have had waves of pass rushers. They now have waves of pass rushers. And so while, yes, the quarterback situation remains mercurial at best, I do think that by adding Abdul Carter, who I believe will have an instant impact opposite Brian Burns, if you can even make Kayvon Thibodeau now your number 3, we saw what Dante Fowler was able to do in 2017 here in Jacksonville, or even more recently when he's kind of been a mercenary going between Dallas and Washington and Atlanta when he's not asked to be a number 1 or number 2 pass rusher. If you now tell Kayvon Thibodeau to step into that role, yeah, he might complain at first because I think that's in his nature. But ultimately, if they win games, if they sack the quarterback, I don't think he's going to care all that much. And I think that could actually prove to be a pretty formidable trio, coupled, of course, with Dexter Lawrence on the interior.
I did think about, as far as the NFC offensive player, Jackson Dart, the Giants drafting him. The problem is I don't know.
I don't think he's going to start.
Yeah, I don't know when he's going to start, if or when, I suppose. I think eventually he will if Russell Wilson doesn't play well. But
what about Jameis?
And
what about Tommy? Tommy DeVito?
Probably the 3rd string quarterback. Tommy, I don't think will make the team. From my
I heard Saints fans were like rioting, trying to get them to trade for Jameis. Listen, I heard that. I literally saw the article yesterday.
Well, Cam
That's
Jordan,
insane.
yeah. It's like, I mean, now you got, it's not even just fans stumping forward. You got the
They're like, come on,
freaking captain of the team being like, we want Jameis back. Sorry, Tyler Shuck. I know Lauren thinks he's going to have an impact for us, but we need Jameis.
He will, and Jameis is a fine backup. But I think now that Jameis is the third string quarterback, that's why Saints fans are like, all right, at least bring him to be the second string quarterback ahead of Spencer Rattler. Jackson Dart, from everything you read, looks great and is getting lots of praise there in New York.
Yeah, I think that's why I do think we will see Jackson Dart at some point, if not pretty quickly. Two things. Number one, it seems like they're high enough to take him in the first round, and now everything you're hearing from him is good out of camp. But also, the Giants have the hardest schedule in the NFL this year. So I feel like that's going to catch up pretty quickly, and it's just going to be like, all right, well, we might as well at this point get Jackson in here to start developing and learning, because we're not going to win football games. And that's usually when it happens, when you kind of give up on the, all right, we brought Russ here to hopefully win. If we're not winning, then bring in the young guy and let's get him on the field and
you want to
get
see
him
what
going
you have.
a little bit. Yeah.
And
which, by the way, defensively, they do have, because they have Roy Robertson Harris and Jeremiah Ledbetter on the Giants defense too.
There are tons of former Jags sprinkled throughout this league for sure, which I guess is better than once upon a time, where once they left
like
the
nobody
Jags,
wanted anybody.
They were just out of the league entirely. Yeah. All right, time now for Taylor Dahl's Tangent.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
I'm going to go back to something we very briefly spoke on yesterday towards the end of our show. Mia brought it up, and that was Diego Pavia. His quote about the Big Ten, if you missed it yesterday, he said, you want to play with the best, you don't want to play with the Big Ten. And so, interesting comment. I get you want to defend your school, you want to defend the conference, you stayed there, and so you want to kind of be that guy that's like, I want to be in the SEC. But just a little note for Diego Pavia that the Big Ten went 6-4 against the SEC in 2024. The Big Ten had more college football playoff teams than the SEC in 2024. The Big Ten had 2 teams in the Final Four and won the national championship, by the way. The Big Ten had 4 teams in the top 8 for strength of record, including Ohio State and Oregon in the top 2 spots. The SEC had just 2 teams, and Georgia was their highest. And also, by the way, in his career against the Big Ten, he lost to Minnesota 38-0 and lost to Wisconsin 66-7. So
this might be your greatest tangent of all time. Like, this one needs to go in the Hall of Fame. And I love Diego Pavia and the content that he provides us. But Taylor just dunked on you, Diego. How does that feel?
I just kept reading more and more yesterday about just things that it was just that, and then people talking about that Big Ten versus SEC. To me, it's kind of those 2 conferences are the ones, obviously, you talk about the most in general, and those 2 conferences are the ones that's ganging up on everybody else. So it's a little weird to take a shot at them. Like, maybe take a shot at the other conferences like the ACC if you want.
Listen, the alliance doesn't exist anymore, and even then the SEC wasn't welcome in the alliance between the now defunct Pac-12, although it will rise again, the ACC and the Big Ten once upon a time, in which our very own Matt Hayes coined Kevin Warren the wolf in sheep's clothing. Kevin Warren, of course, is now a part of the Chicago Bears operation, and the Big Ten just gets more powerful by the minute ever since that defection from the alliance.
My theory is that he was saying this because he wants to, obviously...
Kevin Warren, this is not Matt Hayes. Or Diego.
Pavia.
Yeah, okay.
My theory is that Diego Pavia made this comment because when you look at his what he did against the SEC this last year and beating Alabama, he had a lot of close games against Texas and Mizzou and all of these other teams. So he's like, I'm really good because I almost beat the SEC teams. But the Big Ten was better than the SEC team.
Also,
the SEC this year.
How many more years of eligibility is Diego going to have? Is it just
the last one?
It is.
Is it his last?
Okay. He also said that Vanderbilt would beat Tennessee this year again.
Yeah, I did see that.
Alabama again, like to your point. And I think that stuff is fun in theory. And of course, it's a team game. It's not just a one person going out there and doing it all. But sometimes it's better to not say all those things in advance, because if Vanderbilt loses to Tennessee, if Vanderbilt loses to Alabama, which
it's going to be brought up very quickly.
Yeah, and then now your teammates are like, you basically just gave the opposing teams, especially in these 2 teams, maybe some of the Big Ten, but yeah, the bulletin board material. Yep. And we all know like what happens if you don't win that game. If Tennessee and or Alabama beat Vanderbilt this year, which I would, by the way, predict to happen. You look silly. And yes, you had a great year. Don't get me wrong. But now you're almost making yourself look like you haven't been there before, right? Like use that saying to your advantage of like act like you've been there. Yeah. And if you want to then finish playing college football and then try to talk trash after the fact, like when you're done, okay, sure. But
was this on? It was on Bussin' with the Boys.
Yes.
Is that where he said this? Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I think they just get on the bus and they just start
they
firing
lose
from the hip.
They lose it.
They lose their mind. They lose their sense of reality, and they're just like, I got to do it for the clicks. And
but
so,
if it was my quarterback saying this stuff right now, I would be upset.
I mean, you're Vandy. What do you have to lose?
I guess.
But now these 2 games.
I was there.
That's what you have to lose.
I was there at SEC Media Days when Clark Lee proclaimed, and I forget if this was in Nashville when you were there, Lauren, if it was Atlanta, where he proclaimed that Vanderbilt would be the best team in the country one day.
I thought he just had been partying too hard on Broadway.
Never wrong, just early. I mean, you're Vandy. We're getting a lot of submissions on the text line as well as the YouTube chat. Everyone wants to know the very latest with this report that, yes, it's not just Sportico and Forbes that are reporting it, Yahoo Sports as well. Certainly a lot of the outlets down in Tampa Town that a Jacksonville-based group, multiple people with ties to the Jacksonville area, including the CEO of our friends at Dreamfinders Homes, are reportedly leading the charge on a purchase of the Tampa Bay Rays. I've had some sources tell me that the Rays are expected to release a comment at some point this afternoon. We will see when and if that comes. Our friend Evan Klosky of 10 Tampa Bay doing some sleuth work as well. And he posted on X that in the lobbyist registration in Tampa, he was able to file a Freedom of Information Act. And there are some records of this group meeting with some lobbyists and some folks in Tampa Town. And so if you read the tea leaves, yes, there appear to be legs to this. That is not to say that the Tampa Bay Rays are about to become the Jacksonville Rays, folks. Dreamfinders Homes has communities in 10 states in the continental United States. Point being, though, it would be fascinating if members of the Jacksonville community are a part of this group that could be buying the Rays for a reported $1.7 billion.
Yeah, because by the way, Babby is fantastic.
Penn is awesome.
Penn is awesome. One of the best people I've ever met, but what he's done with the jumbo shrimp and like when everything kind of got rebranded and there was this full-on panic of what was going on because it was Jacksonville Suns and you were losing that, he's done such a fantastic job. So credit to him in general, and I love that he has his hands in this right now.
Yeah, certainly. We shall see what comes of it. And like Mia said, maybe a statement from the Rays is forthcoming. By the way, I just saw this tweet. Giants quarterback Tommy DeVito says he and Jackson Dart have been watching Love Island together.
Speaking of Love Island, I was actually going to nominate this during the cool down in the 1 o'clock hour, but we'll hit it now before we head into the 1 o'clock hour. Jalen Brunson, did you see this last night?
I did not.
So Jalen Brunson tweets out at like 10:27 p.m. I am genuinely confused. No, that's not in reference to the Stanley Cup or the fight between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun. He quote tweets it after so many people replied and thought it was something about the Knicks. He goes, damn, my bad, y'all. I was talking about Love Island.
He's not watching any sports right now. All right, Taylor, before we do hit our next segment, we have a giveaway.
We do. You can get yourself some lunch at Chick-fil-A today. Give us a call at 641-1010 and caller number 5. You will get a free lunch.
Sounds excellent. We have more to do on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
We may not have the most talent. We're not the biggest or strongest, but we've got something no one else has. We're 1010XL. Let's get them.
Poker fans, ready to ride the waves and win big? Join us at Best Bet St. Augustine for the Summer Splash giveaway. Over $40,000 in prizes are up for grabs, including a 2025 Yamaha Wave Runner. Join us now through August 8th to earn entries into the big giveaways. Every hour of poker play and table game play earns you an entry. The more you play, the more chances to win. Come play and win big at Best Bet St. Augustine. Visit bestbetjacks.com for details. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When roaches move into your home or business, you want them out fast. At Terminix, they don't just get rid of those roaches, they evict them and work to prevent them from coming back. Because no one likes an uninvited pest. When cockroaches show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a roach problem. I certainly don't. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
Plumbing problems, AC not blowing, septic tank doing whatever septic tanks do? Don't call 3 different companies and play contractor roulette. Just call Duck Duck Rooter. Waddle over to duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the duck.
Why does Northeast Florida buy from Arlington Toyota? Because Arlington is the place to go for big selection. I'm talking over 800 vehicles, one location, and everyday low prices. Over 350 SUVs, over 175 trucks, over 275 cars, and there's even more inventory on the way. Plus 60-day exchange. You've heard me talk about it, but let it sink in. You buy from Arlington, take it home, drive it around for 60 days, and if you decide it's not right for you, just come on back and exchange it for another one. You even get Arlington's lifetime warranty with your new Toyota purchase. Why buy from Arlington? Because right now you could get financing as low as 0% on select new models. 0% and no payments until January 2026. That's like 7 months from now. Crazy. Now you know why Northeast Florida buys from Arlington Toyota. Shop in person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter mile east of 295, or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com.
Brendan here with Checkmate Coating. No massive overhead means top prices on top quality pool decks, driveways, garages, and patios too.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
Prosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. With the weather now hot as can be, look ahead and get that backyard ready for fall with a new open air or screened-in enclosure. Maximize the space you have and make it great with Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. They truly are the best in the business. So if you have the space and the idea, give them a call today. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway. Tell them Prosser sent you.
Helmets and Heels.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. The 4th is a few weeks away, and I know what you're thinking. I can't start a Wake 180 weight loss because I want to eat on that long 4th of July weekend. Well, guess what? You can eat hamburgers on a Wake 180 weight loss. You can eat chicken, steak, or pork, too. You can even eat lobster because you're eating real food and losing weight. More important, it's fast, easy, and safe. No chemical shots into your body, no counting calories or points or any other fad diet. I can't stress this enough. You eat real food every single day. You know what else you're doing while losing weight with the Wake 180? You're eliminating pain, fitting into clothes you haven't worn in years, sleeping through the night and waking up refreshed and energized and happy. I lost 40 pounds in 9 weeks on a Wake 180. Hacker lost more than 110 over the course of a year. You can lose whatever you want, whatever your goal weight is. The Wake 180 weight loss will get you there quickly and safely by eating real food every single day. A Wake 180 weight loss is the clear path to success without disappointment. Give them a call, 844-346-1800 or online at awake180weightloss.com.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Have you been diagnosed with moderate to severe opioid use disorder? You may qualify for a new clinical research study. Dr. Ferdinand Formoso is now enrolling participants to evaluate the effectiveness of a non-opioid medication treatment option for OUD. Qualified participants will receive study-related care at no cost and may be eligible for reimbursement of travel and accommodations. To qualify, applicants must be 18 to 65 years old, have been diagnosed with moderate to severe opioid use disorder, and have not been on medication to treat opioid use in the last 3 months. The study lasts up to 22 weeks, with weekly visits during treatment. If you're ready to explore a new path forward, visit OUDstudy.com for more details and qualifications. Take the first steps and visit OUDstudy.com. That's OUDstudy.com. OUDstudy.com.
Been in a car crash? I'm local attorney Rick Alexander, and I've made it our mission at the Alexander Law Practice to listen to you so I can fight for the best possible result for you. I've been practicing over 30 years, and our team focuses on guiding you through the entire process. And because fees and reimbursement costs come out at the end of the case, I will never ask you to come out of pocket. For a free review, call 904-400-6600 or log on to alexanderlawpractice.com, Jacksonville.
This is your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. I'm RJ Saunders for 1010XL. This update brought to you by Southern Oak Insurance. Tampa Bay Rays are in advanced talks to sell the team to a group led by Florida real estate developer Patrick Zalewski, founder and CEO of Dream Fighters Homes, which got its start right here in Jacksonville. The deal values the team at roughly $1.7 billion. There has been a signed letter of intent to purchase the Rays, though that does not mean that the sale is final. The Magic acquired shooting depth and playmaking when they acquired guard Desmond Bane. Although he loved his tenure in Memphis, he would say to the media in his introductory press conference that the Magic was a place he saw himself fitting in with perfectly if he were to be traded from Memphis. Right now, 88 degrees at 101. Time and 10 brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Do you think this was the most played song in country music last year?
Yes.
Yes.
Unfortunately, but yes. Nothing against
Unfortunately.
Shabuzi. Nothing against Shabuzi. It's a jam. I just don't really know if it's country music, but
I can understand that. Mia O'Brien is here. Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Let's get to some Jaguars football in this hour. Taylor and I gave our players for the Jaguars post the offseason workout stock up and stock down. So Mia, it's your turn, and then after you go, we'll fill you in on who we said we believe the stock is up or the stock is down on. But I will start with you as far as the stock up is concerned.
yeah, so I would definitively say, and we could start on the offensive side of the ball in terms of stock up. De'Ami Brown's probably an obvious one, so I'll go a little bit more off the beaten path, although I think at this point this is probably exhausted as well. And
you can give as many as you want.
Yeah, I would say LaKent Allen. I think that while there were extremely high hopes for Bashal Tutin and what the speedster out of Virginia Tech could bring, I actually think his running mate out of New Jersey, two great South Jersey running backs, which, hey, we've had a lot of success in the National Football League with those. I think that LaKent Allen has really turned some heads, and it's funny because Fran Brown joined the boys of XL Primetime at ACC meetings in Amelia Island last month, and he was like, oh, he's on the team. And logic would suggest it's the new administration. He's one of their first 9 draft picks. He would make the 53-man roster. But hearing Trevor Lawrence speak on Thursday just effusively about that pass pro and the pro that LaKent Allen has been at the line of scrimmage, I think that really bodes well for the 7th-round rookie out of Syracuse to not only make the team, but potentially see some action, if nothing else on special teams, but potentially on third down as well.
Yeah, and Trevor also, his face lit up when talking about Bashal Tutin and the speed that he brings. So, yeah, certainly I feel like Bashal Tutin would have been in my stock up if it wasn't for that first fumble and the issues that we know he already had in college. All right, so I'm going to say you do get De'Ami Brown in addition to LaKent Allen. Anyone else on the offensive side or defensive side?
So that's stock up.
Stock up.
Yeah, I would say that for stock up, that's who I would go with.
Okay.
For stock down, I mean, look, I keep telling y'all. Everyone wants to write Walker Little off, but I'm telling you, when they refer to competition along the offensive line, it's not just pushing Walker Little, who the previous administration gave a contract to. It's about pushing a former first-round pick in Anton Harrison at right tackle. And I think that from their actions during the offseason program, and I think what you'll see in the early onset of training camp, they are holding to that notion of competition, yes, across the whole line, but specifically at that right tackle spot. And I told y'all back in April, and everyone said, no, it's Walker Little they're trying to beat out. And I'm like, nah, it's not just Walker. There's somebody else, too. And so that would be the one that I'd be a little bit, I'd have my eye on that one. And not that I think Anton Harrison's going to lose his starting spot, but the fact that they are trying to make that seat warm for him in order to get the best out of him is something you did not see the previous regime do.
Yeah, and Liam Cohen specifically said after practice last week, when Anton Harrison wants to go, he can go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right. So their actions and their words are certainly identifying. I think that Anton Harrison, I don't think they're that pleased with him to this point in time as far as his maybe offseason conditioning. We do know that he had an illness. I don't know if that affected things, but when you look up and you see certainly Anton Harrison not playing at times when you would have expected him to be on the field, that to me sends that clear signal that things are not going at least as well as they could be for the former Jaguars right tackle. All right, Mia, here were some of mine in addition to De'Ami Brown on the offensive side. I also had Travis Etienne because Liam Cohen said that he's definitively going to be on this roster, at least as of now. And it sounds like for the season. And then defensively, I had a ton of guys. Dewey Wingard, I think, has impressed. He's always making plays. Jordan Lewis, who you would expect to be really good out there, in addition to Buster Brown. I think the cornerbacks overall as a whole have played really well, at least, again, through the offseason workouts. Devin Lloyd, after losing weight and looking a lot faster, and the fact that Liam Cohen said that he is always in the building early, they're late, always asking questions. I think they've liked what they've seen from him. And then finally, defensive lineman Mason Smith and edge Emmanuel Ogbah. To me, both, their stock is up to this point in time more even than I thought prior to the offseason workouts because of how good they look and how seamless they've fit into the defense. And Taylor, your stock ups?
Yeah, I had the similar when it came to Etienne Ogbah and Devin Lloyd. I just had Eric Armstead on mine because obviously you're moving him back to the position he's supposed to play. And it's if you're talking about 2 years ago, it's different. But if you're just comparing it to last year, it's a stock up. And how people felt about him after the season.
Yeah, I would say Gabe Davis, probably most disappointing offensively last year, and Eric Armstead, because of what was expected out of him, probably most disappointing defensively. Again, you can talk about a Ronald Darby differently because I don't think people had as high expectations. For him.
And then the other one I had was Caleb Bransaw, and I think that I've had so many conversations about the safety room, about how I'm not the biggest fan of Eric Murray. I know they are. We will see how that plays out. I think Darnell Savage is okay. I think that this gives the perfect opportunity for Caleb Bransaw to be able to come in here and truly compete for one of those starting spots. And I think after what you saw at camp, a lot of people are really high on Bransaw too, just from the outside of people talking, but then obviously what you're seeing on the field too from him.
I would also give a vote of confidence on the defensive side of the ball to Buster Brown. I think he had a very nice offseason program, at least from the practices that I was able to watch. And while many, I think, back in April would have said, oh, they're just going to move Jarian Jones to the outside and be done with it, I think, again, they're trying to create that competition. Buster's going to have a fair shake at this thing opposite Tyson Campbell. And look, we'll see how the Travis Hunter of it all plays into it once training camp begins. But I was very impressed with Buster's offseason program from what we could see. So I would also put him as someone who the stock is up. Ditto to Jordan Lewis. Those would have been my two players. In terms of the stock down.
Yeah, we both had Anton Harrison. I think that was, like you said, that's a very obvious
we
one
had
to this
down.
point.
Anton.
That's what I said. Stock down. And then I also had Javon Foster because I don't know if he makes this team.
Yep.
And at one point in time, I thought he'd be I thought they'd move Anton Harrison to left tackle and Javon Foster, when drafted, would eventually be the starting right tackle. Clearly, that was incorrect. And then my other stock down is linebacker Yasir Abdullah because I also don't know if he makes the team. He's kind of that hybrid position player, and I just don't know if he fits in this defensive scheme.
Yeah, and to that point of 2023, 2024 draft picks under Trent Baalke that may not make this team, I was impressed the last few practices we were out from Tyler Lacey. There were a couple flashes there. He looks bigger. I think that, and not that I've gotten any specifics on this, and I asked some of the assistant coaches during the assistant coach availability and didn't really get any clarification on it because he looks bigger to me. And so I wondered, is he trying to maybe offer some versatility to play more of a one tech, play more of a nose, and not just he is a 3 or a 5 tech exclusively. Didn't really get any clarification on that, but a couple of the assistant coaches brought him up in their conversations at that availability. And so therefore I think, a guy who's going to be competing, and it's going to be interesting knowing that as of this writing, they will be carrying those 4 edge rushers in Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Emmanuel Ogbah, Dewan Smoot.
And maybe even Dennis Gardeck.
And where do you fit him into the conversation? Is he an outside linebacker? Is he part of that off-ball linebacker group with Jalen McLeod, who, again, is a draft pick of this new regime, almost certainly will be making the roster. Yeah. So that's where the numbers game of it all is going to be interesting for those 23, 24 draft picks specifically.
And that's similar to Yasir Abdullah, too, just kind of the where for him. Is there a spot for him? And that's where it comes to when you're talking about rosters like this. Mine were my 2 defensive that I had were Chad Muma was one for me, and I just think that people know listening to this, I'm not the biggest fan of Muma in general, but I think that Devin Lloyd is going to be able to really separate himself this year. And then we already know what Foye is. And then you draft in McLeod and Kaiser. To me, that's kind of like this. Already you have your backup succession plan for what Chad Muma has not been able to do. And then Jordan Jefferson was my other one. And kind of similar when you have a rotation of Mason Smith now, who's formed the gap between him and Jordan Jefferson, and then Devon Hamilton and Eric Armstead back on the inside. I just don't know how much playing time there is for a guy who already only played half the games last year.
So we began the show with our impact offseason moves in both the AFC and the NFC overall. Both Taylor and Lauren said that their impact offseason move in the AFC was the Baltimore Ravens drafting Malachi Starks. Well, what if I told you?
Now, breaking news.
According to Jordan Schultz, the Baltimore Ravens have signed free agent cornerback Jair Alexander.
The Ravens don't mess around.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they saw, like I said, they have this team that almost felt like it's fully complete. And when you talk about the pass rush, when you talk about the run stop up front, when you talk about an offensive line, when you talk about a run game, when you talk about a pass game, when you talk about a quarterback, everything you have except a secondary. And so that's what they went heavy in this year. Jair, look, when Jair's on the field, he's a really good player. The problem is he hasn't made it even to half a season the last 3 of the last 4. And so how much are you actually going to see Jair? I don't know.
I would imagine that Jair takes the spot or at least competes with Chidobe Awuzie, who was injured a lot of last year. But yeah, look, Lamar Jackson came out and said the Ravens have a vengeance after losing to the Bills in the postseason. And to me, Lamar Jackson is already such a scary proposition as far as facing him at quarterback. And like you talked about with Derrick Henry, but if the Ravens defense can be what it once was, then I think you do have to probably think in some form or fashion, like Chiefs or Ravens as far as the best rosters, and then maybe the Bills and the Bengals.
I would say the Ravens roster is better than the Chiefs. The Chiefs just have Patrick Mahomes, which I think people put at that next tier.
Correct.
But as a roster as a whole, I would put the Ravens roster easily.
By the way, Louisville teammates, Jair Alexander and Lamar Jackson. So that little reunion. And there's
once beat my Florida Gators in the Sugar Bowl. Thanks
I honestly
They won a game in Jacksonville, too. Did they not? Or did they lose the tax Slater?
I think they lost that because that's the time that I was down on Lamar because I saw him in person throw 5 interceptions.
Yeah, they did. He didn't play very well here. And honestly, when we're talking about just full construction of rosters, I may put Ravens, Philly, then the Chiefs as like a full construction. Like if you're not talking about just like the quarterback.
Yeah, I was thinking AFC alone. I want to let you hear a couple comments from James Gladstone, Jaguar general manager on Sirius XM on the other side, as well as give you today's Terminix Pest of the Day. Mia is fired up for it. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Now, 1010XL takes you inside the program director's office with Dan and Jeff.
There's been a lot of complaints already.
Mornings
Fooling around on the course, bad language. If you guys want to get fired,
on 1010XL.
just keep it up.
Hello, I'm Joe Cordell, founder of Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is complicated, especially when your small business or professional practice is involved. At Cordell & Cordell, we understand that these assets raise unique valuation and allocation issues. For 35 years, we've helped doctors, lawyers, and small business owners navigate divorce with confidence. Call us at Cordell & Cordell. Let me tell you, I understand on a personal level, your business is much more than a job. It's your legacy.
Jacksonville, Florida. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois. CordellCordell.com.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. It's the little things like a peach milkshake on a warm day that makes the summer sweet. And now you can head to your local Chick-fil-A and enjoy a favorite summer treat again. Hand-spun the old-fashioned way, this refreshing milkshake features Chick-fil-A ice cream and peaches. It's the perfect cold treat to enjoy outside on a warm day or with your friends and family after dinner. And it's here for a limited time, so swing by your local Chick-fil-A and treat yourself today.
Guys, your lawn's the home field. Now you can champion your St. Augustine grass. TopDressing.com just hit Jacksonville with a game-changing patented process. Aerate and transform your turf into a fairway-worthy masterpiece. Less water, shorter cuts, and the envy of every neighbor. No one else delivers a perfect 10 lawn like this. Visit TopDressing.com and dominate your block with the same process that golf courses use. Top dress your lawn like the pros with TopDressing.com.
If life blindsided you tomorrow, would your family struggle? I'm Cody with Harborstone Financial, and I can help. One call could protect your family for life. 904-885-9566. Harborstone Financial.
It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Is your roof ready for hurricane season? When storms hit, you need more than just a roof. You need trust. Valor Roofing Company is veteran-owned and operated, serving all of Florida with integrity and quality craftsmanship. From minor repairs to full replacements, they'll treat your home like it's their own. Estimates are always free, and veterans receive a special discount on all roofing services. Visit ValorRoofingCo.com and protect your home with people who care. GAF certified license CCC 1334864.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Listen to whatever you like, whenever you want.
I like this.
1010XL on demand. Ad-free shows after the live shows air. Shuttled by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning. Search where you find podcasts.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal. Pretty nice weather we're having, huh?
You think this is nice?
I mean, it's sunny, warm. We do live in Florida.
It's not all upside, Jason. Warm weather comes, so all the cool people hit the beach. My old air conditioner craps out, so it's 1,000 degrees inside, and I'm stuck on a video call in my underpants trying not to sweat through my...
Wait. Put these sunglasses on.
I'm not going to put on your...
Whoa. The air conditioning experts at Bueller Air and Plumbing can keep your home office cool and comfortable all summer long. You look good in your meeting, impress the big guy with your cool confidence, maybe finally make assistant deputy regional manager.
Wow, air conditioning can do that?
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend all summer worried the weather is going to be too nice, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Spring has sprung, and so have the bugs. It's Hayes Carline and my friends at Kingfish Pest Control offer an exclusive $99 spring special. That's right, your initial pest control service is just $99. And if you call today, they'll include a free one-time mosquito treatment. Kingfish Pest Control is family-owned, 5-star rated with no binding contracts and 100% satisfaction guarantee. Call them now to book your service. Only at Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental with light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, 2 locations in Jacksonville.
1010XL is a proud supporter of this year's Circle K Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament, the largest fundraiser for marine charities. To join the fun July 10th through 19th at the Jim King Park and Boat Ramp, go to kingfishtournament.com.
The 2025 season schedule has dropped, and single game tickets are on sale now. Be at the bank to watch Travis Hunter, Trevor Lawrence, and the Jaguars take on the biggest names in the NFL. Don't miss your favorite matchup and secure your tickets now by visiting jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. See you this fall, Jags fans.
Yes, sir. That's the best decision.
I love it.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This was also the most played song in all of country music.
Yeah,
between
I was
Morgan
about to
Wallen and
say
Post Malone.
it might have been a Morgan Wallen, but very close with Shabuzi.
Yeah, very close. All right, let's get it to the Terminix Pest of the Day, brought to you as always by our friends at Terminix, TERMINIX.com. You can get a free inspection online by scheduling there, and then of course they'll come to your home, they'll come to your business, they will spray for termites, for pests, for cockroaches and ants, things like that, and also for mosquitoes. They're coming back to our house tomorrow to spray once again for mosquitoes. All right, so the Terminix Pest of the Day today, for me, it's going to be the ladies on the Sun who were taking on the Fever last night. I thought, and I know some people are upset with the referees, and we'll get to that in a second, but I thought Caitlin Clark got attacked, and I saw it first on Twitter. I was not watching live. And so then I went back and watched it, and I was like, this is so rude. Like, I don't understand how you're allowed to do this in any sport, but you can't, like, poke someone in the eye and then shove that person and then have someone else, like, shove her to the ground. Like, I just think that's incredibly not sportsmanlike and violent, and that does not belong in the sport of basketball, whether it's men's or women's basketball.
So I just tweeted it out. Taylor and I were literally in our office this morning for like 45 minutes reviewing all the videos as if it was the Zapruder film. I'm going to let Taylor give her thoughts, before we go step by step, the history of Caitlin Clark, J.C. Sheldon, why we saw what we saw last night, how the short conference in Monmouth County and myself and Marina Mabry factor into this. You go first, Taylor, and RJ, get that X-Files music ready.
Yeah, I think the two things that pop out. Number one, it's terrible, and I don't know how the one girl, what's her name again,
Marina Mabry,
was not ejected.
Yeah,
she
she
was not
definitely should have
ejected
been
from this game, and everyone's like, "Oh, it was a flop." Not a flop. She's holding her eye, just got shoved one way, and she's trying. Her back is to Mabry, and then she gets shoved. So definitely, probably should have got ejected from that. But the first thing that came to my mind when it comes to this is, I feel like some of this is kind of constructed a little bit by other players because they see how much attention Caitlin Clark gets, and anybody that has anything with Caitlin Clark then all of a sudden is in the news and gets all of this, all of the articles
writing
and
off
all
her
of it.
coattails.
Yes.
Okay.
And so to me, I feel like that's happening a little bit in this. Not saying some of these people, Caitlin already has some beef with one of the girls, especially on this team. So there is some built-in things going on already, and it's a physical sport when you start doing things like this. Not so much to where you shove someone to the ground, but to me, it just feels like that sometimes that these girls, there's a lot of girls saying, "Hey, if Caitlin is in the news with every part of this, if I'm involved in it in any way, I'm going to now my name's in the headlines," and they don't care if it's for a negative or positive because any publicity is good publicity, and some of these people and some of the players' eyes, a lot of players' eyes, honestly. And so that was
not just that they're jealous of her, but they actually want to be connected to her.
Yeah, and because how many would anybody not WNBA fan be able to talking about these three girls that we're listing now if it wasn't for this incident? No. And so I do think that is part of it, number one. Number two, I think Caitlin Clark, the way that she handles everything is fantastic, and I'm not saying that in the sense of she doesn't do anything
because
Caitlin
she
Clark,
pokes the bear.
She will, she pushes people too. She knows how to do that. She knows how to chirp. She knows how to trash talk.
Not physically pushes.
Yeah. She'll
physically push.
She'll
too.
shove.
It's okay.
And there was part in this game where she was the one who was shoving, and she, but first started one of the little scrummages. She was kind of the one, and she dropped the F-bomb at someone, and someone said, "Why? You can't do that." And she said, "I can do whatever the F I want." And so gets under people's skin. And so Caitlin Clark is really good at that. She's not one of those players that are playing the victim in any way in this. And I do appreciate that because she knows that she plays a role in this. And there was a clip after the game that maybe we'll be able to hear today that she was you could tell she's aggravated, and you can tell she's fired up because she loves this game, but it's getting to the point where she feels like she's constantly having to talk about other things other than basketball because all the other fights and beef between her and Angel and her and Mabry and all of these things are going on. So that was the two things that popped out to me. Number one, I think that it is a little bit purposefully being done by some of the players. And number two, I think that Caitlin is not completely innocent in every one of these situations, but she is definitely getting bullied.
So before we cue up the X-Files music, before we get to that audio, which RJ, I did email it to you. I forgot to alert you to that. Before we get to that, let's begin with this. What you both have said, in my estimation, is fair, and I would tend to agree with it. I think that the WNBA fan and media space we could spend a whole show trying to break down exactly what has happened over the last 2 years as the sport and the league has moved to the mainstream, the pearl clutching, if you want to call it that, because there would be pushback to what you both said from two perspectives. Number one, let's address it head on. The reality is that this was multiple scuffles in a single game, and it involved several of the most high-profile white members of the WNBA. And there is a notion that is being discussed and debated across the country today of if this had involved Black women, how this would have been perceived, as opposed to this notion of, look at this girl and the blonde girl pulling her. And then unfortunately, that's just the reality. And that's another conversation that, again, we don't have enough time to get into, but I do want to address that. I feel like part of the reason this is being discussed from this perspective of, oh my goodness, look how competitive they are and they're just bullying Caitlin. It's from that perspective. So let's put that there. I do want to acknowledge that is reality. This is a little bit of a white privilege conversation. So that's number one. Number two, I told Taylor, I watched it live. I watched the 4 scuffles that occurred during this game live. And I woke up this morning, went to the gym, showered, watched it again, and I texted a bunch of my old teammates from back in the day. And I said, I'm not going to lie. and I should use the disclaimer that Marina Mabry is from 2 towns over from me. She's from Manasquan, New Jersey. I'm not going to lie. I have seen multiple girls, I won't use their name on the air, but I have seen multiple girls not only hip check someone, like Marina Mabry hip checked Caitlin Clark last night on the soccer field, but then also hip check the same girl at a Sweet 16 or a teen dance later that week in the same town. So point is this also just women simply being competitive? If this were men and you saw this hip checking, if you saw the blindside hit that Marina Mabry laid onto Caitlin Clark, if you saw Sophie Cunningham literally grab the opposing player and J.C. Sheldon going for an easy layup as retaliation, how would it be viewed through that lens? And so I do think
we talk about it with Draymond Green. Like,
correct.
He's a bully on the court, and we talk about how many technical fouls he gets, and we talk about that he goes over the line, and very few people, I think, agree with his style of basketball, is what I would say.
Yeah. Right. Now, there's also a point of this. Jared Verse even got involved in the conversation, the former Florida State edge rusher, now with the Los Angeles Rams, and he noted that he loved that Sophie Cunningham was standing on business, that Caitlin Clark was being pushed around, and she said, not on my watch. We're up by 20. I don't care if I get ejected from this game. I'm going to lay down the law and tell J.C. Sheldon who's boss. And there were people in the comments. There were people tweeting at me last night saying, Evan Ingram and Sophie Cunningham have something in common. They said, I won't stand for this. There's also a conversation going around right now on the internet, this conversation of this time a year ago, Sophie Cunningham was a member of the Phoenix Mercury. There was no enforcer on this Fever team because Aaliyah Boston, I love her to death. I praise her all the time on the show, but she's not as confrontational as Sophie Cunningham is. And neither is Kelsey Mitchell and neither is Lexi Hull. But now you bring in this player who, if you're going to mess with her, if you're going to mess with one of her teammates, she's not afraid. RJ, this is the part where we play the X-Files music before we play Caitlin Clark. She's not going to be afraid to showcase the fact that she is the youngest black belt in the history of the state of Missouri, which is a crazy fact that I did not know until this morning.
That is, that's insane. I also think we see it sport-wide when it comes to this, though. You see in baseball a pitcher plunk somebody when they bat flip or they point, and you see in football someone after a tackle have that little extra shove when they felt like a dirty play happened before that. So I do think that it's not just basketball. It's not just the WNBA. It's not just these white girls being whatever they are. It's a part of the sport that when you feel like you're protecting one of your own, there are certain players that take that to the next level. And I honestly, we talk about it here, what happened with Trevor last year and the way Jarian reacted when he saw it.
Correct.
And we appreciate that. Like, we like that. So I think in other sports you have to too. I don't mind that Sophie kind of reacted the way she did. I know there was probably a lot of buildup and you're seeing them slam your best star player who also just came back from injury onto the court. And so there's going to be an extra fieriness in that.
Aziz El-Shire, to your point, Taylor, was ejected from the game.
Yeah.
And then he was suspended by the league.
Marina Mabry was never ejected.
That's what I'm saying.
Why wasn't she ejected?
Because I asked, I was like, was anybody ejected? And she said,
J.C. Sheldon.
There was somebody, but not the girl.
Right, she should be suspended. And so that's why you wonder, does the WNBA love this?
That's what I'm saying. They're constructing this. A lot of it is constructed.
And are the officials then going along with it because they just want to have anyone talk about this sport?
Watch us. Pay attention to us.
Right. And
love us.
Of course, the Fever now playing in the Commissioner's Cup. Is that on Sunday, the championship?
It's the same as the in-season tournament with the NBA. So that won't be till July 1st will be the championship game. So we got a little bit of time before that game against the Minnesota Lynx, who will now be without Nafisa Collier, the league's leading scorer. Let's listen to Caitlin Clark on all of this post-game last night.
You guys came for basketball. Let's talk about basketball. Come on now.
What do you think of just how you all were able to pull away in the second half, Caitlin, in particular?
We're going to the Commissioner Cup Championship.
Let's
go! Pretty exciting. Y'all want to talk about that? Let's talk about that. At the end of the day, I'm here to play basketball, and that's my job. That's what I'm going to do. I was excited. Honestly, the review took too long for me. I wanted to get playing basketball again, and that's exactly what I did the rest of the third quarter. I made all 3 free throws, and then it was a tough 3. I was excited about a 3, and honestly, I got to give our crowd a lot of credit, too. I thought they were tremendous. They were cheering for us. They had our back. And I'm a passionate player, but at the end of the day, I'm here to play basketball, and that's what it is. And my game's going to talk, and that's all that really matters. And I love this game, and I'm going to give it everything I have. So I think that's what competitors do. You just step right back up to the challenge.
And so that's how I would close by saying I think that this was competition gone too far. Not like we've seen it. We saw it here in Jacksonville once upon a time in December of this past year. And it's unfortunate that it got to that point, much like the Azeez Al-Shaair Trevor Lawrence incident was unfortunate that it got to that point. I would like to, again, since we're taking a trip down memory lane for context, J.C. Sheldon was also drafted last year in 2024, played at Ohio State. And, of course, Ohio State notoriously beat Iowa in Columbus, Ohio in primetime during she and Caitlin's senior year. There are some who believe that there is beef between the two. I can't say for certain, but there are people who believe there's more beef between J.C. Sheldon and Caitlin Clark going into last night's game than Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. And so that's where I don't want to say this was premeditated, but there was already some beef perhaps.
It's interesting because it feels like the drama surrounding these games is what people end up talking about more than what happens on the court.
Yep. And then they complain about it because then they want you to talk about basketball. And you're like, well, but here's the beef.
Yeah, I understand. All right, so we started the show talking certainly NFL, and then we also talked some baseball because the Rays have now announced that they are in exclusive discussions with a group led by Jacksonville developer Patrick Zalewski. He is one of the owners of Dreamfinders Homes concerning a possible sale of the team. Per the Rays, the group also includes prominent Tampa Bay investors, as well as businessman Bill Cosgrove, CEO of Union Home Mortgage, and Ken Babby, who owns the two minor league teams, of course, the Jumbo Shrimp, being one of those. So I wanted to add that prominent Tampa Bay investors to the conversation because if people did think that the team is moving, I don't know that that's the case, but just what we surmised when we started this conversation. All right, one more segment to go. We will wrap things up and let you hear from James Gladstone, general manager of your Jacksonville Jaguars on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Hot summer heat.
On our summertime ship, babe, need something to keep you cool.
Keep it cool all summer long with 1010XL. Jacksonville's cool summer station.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Mia here. Why does Northeast Florida buy from Arlington Toyota? Because Arlington is the place to go for big selection. I'm talking over 800 vehicles, one location, everyday low prices. Check this out. Over 350 SUVs, over 175 trucks, over 275 cars. And if that's not enough, there's even more on the way. Plus, 60-day exchange. I know you've heard me talk about it, but let this sink in. It's huge. Buy from Arlington, take it home, drive it around for 60 days. And if you decide it's not right for you, just come on back to Arlington and exchange it for another one. You even get Arlington's lifetime warranty with your new Toyota purchase. Why buy from Arlington? Because right now you could get financing as low as 0% on select new Toyota models. 0%. Now you know why Northeast Florida buys from Arlington Toyota. Shop in person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter mile east of 295, or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com. Visit arlingtontoyota.com/0 for full details.
Joint replacement surgery is always a tough decision, but relief from chronic pain may be just around the corner. Dr. George Barber here, and there's a lot to consider to make sure you get the proper diagnosis and best path back to the range of motion and mobility you had. Age, lifestyle, and overall health all play a part. Let the team at Barber Orthopedics give you a full analysis to help you make the best decision. Log on to BarberOrthopedics.com or call the office to make an appointment. With offices across Jacksonville and ready to help you feel good again, we'll get you back on the road to recovery at Barber Orthopedics.
Is your backyard ready for the big leagues? Pick it here for Surfside Pools. Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, they have the home field advantage. Family owned and operated, offering weekly pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools make your backyard dreams a reality. Are you ready to float happy? Visit surfsidepools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, your hometown MVP.
License number CPC 044080.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and heels. Home is where your story begins. And at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to make it the healthiest, most comfortable place it could be. Whether it's fresh, clean air, dependable plumbing, or reliable power, we take care of it all. From routine maintenance to state-of-the-art solutions, Donovan keeps your home running smoothly. Because at Donovan, we believe your home isn't just where you live, it's where your health meets comfort. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing at 904-270-COOL or visit us online. Let's make your home healthier, safer, and better together.
Hacker here. Y'all know I needed to do something about my weight. When I saw Matt and Mike eating to lose weight, I figured that could probably work for me. And it did. Just look at me now. If you need a weight loss plan that works, visit Awaken180weightloss.com.
The calls have been pouring in.
It's the strongest phone connection on the First Coast. The Checkmate Coatings phone line covers you with expert interviews from around the country and your opinions and comments from here at home. All day, every day on 1010XL.
What does your dream backyard look like? Hey, it's Joe C. and my friends at CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living can design an outdoor kitchen layout custom built to your taste and lifestyle. You dream it, they can build it. CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. Visit CSSOutdoor.com.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Now's the perfect time to order logo coffee mugs or maybe a logoed Stick brand tumbler. They're seriously ice cold and look great with your company logo. Hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
As down payments get bigger, millions of renters across America feel like they'll never be able to buy a home. So instead of lowering expectations, Rocket Mortgage is lowering down payments to 1% for eligible home buyers with OnePlus, helping more renters become owners. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to get a head start on your starter home.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com/Duval. That's WM.com/Duval and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's the Mangler.
The NBA playoffs are here, and there's no better place to catch the action than Hurricane Grill and Wings. With slam dunk specials like $3.75 Miller Lite drafts, plus fresh, never frozen wings in over 30 flavors, and big screens everywhere. This is your home for all the games. Handcrafted cocktails, bold flavors, big plays. Don't just watch the games, experience them at Hurricane Grill and Wings. Find your spot at hurricanewings.com.
Hey, Hicken here for my friends at Zero Res. They want to help you clean your home or business. Big summer savings with 3 rooms clean starting at $129 and 20% off your air duct cleaning. Call them 904-287-5727 and ask for the 1010XL special.
1010XL is presented by Farrah and Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Hey now, we appreciate you Heeligans who chimed in for better or worse with our conversation. The Terminex Pest of the Day surrounding the scuttlebutt in the WNBA, the drama from last night's 15-point fever victory over the Connecticut Sun. But we know what you want to cool down with. Yes, in case you missed it, the Tampa Bay Rays have confirmed news of sale discussions in a statement that was just released. They have said that it is now a exclusive discussion about buying the Tampa Bay Rays with a group led by Dreamfinders Home CEO Patrick Zalupski here of Jacksonville, Bill Cosgrove, Ken Babby, the owner of the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, as well as prominent Tampa Bay investors concerning the sale. Now, I do want to note, and I've had a couple of my sources and colleagues and contemporaries and friends down in Tampa reach out and note that they believe there's still a world, Lauren, in which the current ownership group finds a way into this new group. They will be the minority owners, but don't be surprised if they still want to have their hands in the cookie jar in some respects, much like Mark Cuban sold the Dallas Mavericks, but he remains a minority owner.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little messy sometimes because those people still have the opinions and they once had the ability to execute their opinions and then them taking a lesser role, they still have their opinions and yes, some people would say, well, they know where all the bodies are buried, sure. But if it was me and I had the funds to be able to take over an organization like the Tampa Bay Rays, I would say thank you for your services, Stuart Sternberg. But there's a reason you're selling the club, and I'm going to take it over with my new ownership group, and we're going to move and do things differently. Because, again, I don't think most Rays fans would agree with a lot of the moves that the Rays have made. Even though they've been successful, they also have traded away some players that I think they would have loved to have had years later, including Blake Snell, even though, like we've talked about, he and Kevin Cash, I think, had some attitude disagreements, but still really good baseball player. Speaking of baseball, by the way, 4 teams left in the College World Series. At 2 p.m. today, we have Louisville versus Coastal Carolina. So for people cheering for the underdog, I guess that's Louisville in that game, which is crazy to say. And then at 7 p.m. tonight, Arkansas versus LSU. Yes, these 2 teams met already in the College World Series. LSU won that game, and then Arkansas ended up winning and beating UCLA last night. So these 2 will meet once again, and so you've got those 4 teams left in the College World Series. And I know we have some stuff to do after the show, but I will have baseball on my phone if either of you want to check out the college baseball. All right, let's get it to Jaguars general manager James Gladstone. A couple of comments when he joined Sirius XM talking about Travis Hunter and why they've had him play more on offense so far.
Our understanding that Travis is most naturally comfortable, most naturally in tune on the defensive side of the ball. We wanted to load him offensively throughout this window to ensure that by the time we got to training camp, we had a runway built up on that side, because there's so much more nuance, so much more adjustments in real time on the offensive side of the ball that would require a lot more learning. So with this phase of the process sort of being rooted through that lens, that's why we wanted to put the emphasis on O, knowing that we would then trickle in the defensive participation a little bit more towards the back end of the offseason program and really as we get into training camp. I do think there's a little bit of a misconception in that it's wide receiver first, corner second, as much as it is the learning methodology of wide receiver through this phase and then continuing to trickle in more defense, since that is his primary background.
And watching him at OTAs and at mandatory minicamp, I think it's very obvious that he's much more naturally comfortable on defense. That is the role that he excelled at, and I think we all knew he was the number 1 corner. And there was debate about who was maybe the number 1 wide receiver. It could be Travis Hunter. It could be some other guys, Ted McMillan, Matthew Golden, the likes of those types of guys. But yeah, I love that James Gladstone said there is a misconception that it's offense first and then defense. The reason that they've brought him along on offense more to this point, like you just heard him say, is it's harder to learn the position of receiver. There are obviously all the routes, there's protection, and it's a more nuanced position. It is more difficult. So that's why they've thrust him more into that wide receiver role as far as snaps to this point, and they've let him play a little bit of corner in addition to that. So I just wanted people to understand and hear that directly from James's mouth, who at once upon a time, by the way, in high school played both offense and defense himself.
Yeah, but they also from the beginning said it was more of an offensive piece to them, and it was going to be situational snaps. If you're telling me that in certain, you can tell me the 5 times, excuse me, that he's going to be playing defense, then to me he's more of an offensive player. If he's going to be your offense and then on certain situational pieces he's going to be defense, then he's an offensive player majority. So it's kind of like, I get what he's saying. He doesn't want people to panic that he didn't play a lot of defense in the OTAs and minicamp, and you weren't seeing as much of that. But like from the get-go, pretty much right out of the gates, Liam Cohen said he was going to be a wide receiver and then play packages on defense.
I think so much of this too, and we are not privy to this, and this goes to the medical staff, the training staff. So much of this is that, number one, people forget Travis Hunter did have some soft tissue injuries while he was at Colorado, and so the Jaguars don't want to put too much on his plate, both physically and mentally, from the onset. Not that he can't handle it. I think, at least from their commentary, it sounds like he is able to handle it from the onset, but they want to ease him in, and so therefore you can't give him this entire workload for both offense and defense. Look, I forget who said it, but the playbook at the collegiate level is like a pamphlet, like a handout.
Yeah, it was Manti Te'o.
Yes, it was Manti Te'o. And then it's an encyclopedia when you get to the National Football League for each side of the ball. And so now you have to go from reading a pamphlet to reading 2 encyclopedias. And they don't want to put all of that on him right away. Corner, I believe, is his more natural position. Do I believe in the next 2 to 3 years we will see a world in which he is regularly playing snaps on both sides of the ball? I believe that. But I don't think that will be week 1 against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I wonder, Taylor, to your point, if that was the plan, and that's what they told us initially is, yes, we're going to have him at receiver first and then corner. And then I feel like getting him in the building and you see him move in both positions. And I know for me watching him play corner, it was like, oh, yes, he is obviously going to be a really good corner in this league. I still will figure out if he's going to be a good receiver. So I wonder if that's shifted. James Gladstone was also asked on SiriusXM just how many snaps Travis Hunter will play in each game.
Time will truly tell, and I think the thing that you can, in fact, lean into at this stage is he does not tire. He has got a spark. He has got the energy, the capacity from a physical standpoint just to be able to do it is certainly there. It'll be in terms of one game to the next. Where does it fit? Where does it make the most sense? Certain game plans might dictate usage differently. So time will truly tell, and I don't know that one game to the next is going to be the exact same, but putting a number on it at this stage is, I think, probably premature. But look forward to seeing how it really plays itself out here and him earning his spot on both sides. Certainly going to be an opportunity for him. Got to take advantage of it here down the stretch.
And you've said that.
That's exactly what I've been saying. Is I just feel like game to game, it's going to be different. It's going to matter what the opponent looks like. If it's a strong, high-powered offense, then you're probably going to see a little bit more of Travis Hunter out there. If it's not offense, you don't have to worry about why risk the Travis Hunter being out there a ton. If it's a defense where you know you need him the majority of the snaps on offense because he has been making those plays, or him and Trevor have this connection, or whatever the case may be, I think you will see. I do think it's truly going to be game to game, and if it's like the first 3 weeks and people are panicking because he's only doing not as much as what they expected on both sides of the ball, then maybe it's just like, okay, this is the game plan for that. I was looking just real quick at college-wise of snaps that he did. And so out of 820, he played 714 of 823 snaps. 86.8% of those were offensive snaps and 82.9% of those were defensive snaps. So pretty even, but still more offense than you saw defense in Colorado from him. And so it will be interesting to see how they really shake all of this out. And I've said it before, I think he has all the ability to do both. I just think more so how knowledgeable can he become right away with both the playbooks, and how much can you physically do. The most athletic guys in the game, you still see them sit on the bench after a long run because they're worn out. Like, it's just, it's going to hit him at some point. He's not going to never get tired. And so I do think how they game plan that will be fascinating. And I do think it's going to be a learning experience for not only Travis Hunter, but the coaching staff too.
It certainly will. And like Mia said, the medical staff has to obviously be very cognizant of the fact that they've never been through this before.
Yeah.
Like
no one has.
Right.
Yeah.
They, at this point in time, they know that he's got great cardio. Like, there is no one that's going to question Travis Hunter's cardiovascular abilities and capacity. But it still is different in the NFL. Every single hit that he's going to take is a little more violent than ones that he took in college, and everyone's faster. And by the way, I don't know if the Jaguars play a team on their schedule that has a terrible offense, right?
Yeah,
like, I could go through and tell you, even week 1 with the Panthers, we talked about Ted McMillan.
How much better they should be, yeah.
Right. And then, of course, you have the Bengals with 2 of the best receivers in all the league. You've got the Texans now, who's going to be, potentially a team that's going to win the AFC South. And then you have the 49ers and the Chiefs. Like, there's weapons on weapons on weapons. So I feel like Travis Hunter, Mia, might lead this team in interceptions. Like, I think that's possible.
Well, there's a chance. I also think that you would like to
hopefully
see,
not, because if somebody's playing way more snaps and they can't get more interceptions, then you have a bad secondary.
Well, Tyson Campbell, that's not his game. Like, he is not
his high
ball
is 3.
hawk.
But I also think with the move to more of a zone predominant defense, like a more predominantly zone defensive scheme, I think that's going to open up the door not just for Tyson Campbell to have more picks. I think that's going to open up the door for a lot of players to be able to make more plays on the ball.
Right. But if Travis Hunter is in the game every time that the opposing team is in the red zone, let's just call it that. Then the field is shrunk at that point in time. That's when you can certainly get picks.
Well, I mean, you could also get picks in the middle of the field. I don't think that it's just because the area of the field is compressed. I think that ultimately then there's more players you have to be accounting for. Like, there's smaller space, and you have to be accounting for players. I forget what I'm like. Point is, like, just because it's a compressed field doesn't mean that results in more interceptions. I don't think. I think it can result in more turnovers overall. I think that this team as a whole just needs to create more takeaways, whether it's in the red zone or elsewhere. And so that's where, to Taylor's point, I think a player who's going to be playing more snaps than him, you would like to see them lead the team in interceptions because they're going to have more opportunities to make plays on the ball.
Yeah, and I also think that of the schedule that you just listed, those are all quarterbacks who don't throw interceptions in the red zone. So you're facing a lot of teams who their biggest strengths is once they get to the red zone when it comes to the quarterbacks. And so that I don't know. I don't know the number of how many they'll get at each spot, but I do think that my hope is that Travis Hunter does not have the most interceptions, because to me that means the rest of the secondary isn't doing their job on a normal basis.
And I get that. I guess to this point too, I still don't know if he's going to take how many fewer snaps he's going to take, say, than Tyson Campbell. All right, let's say hello to Leon.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
Leon, who do you think leads the Jaguars in interceptions this year? Let's hope, by the way, that they get multiple interceptions.
I'm gonna go with Tyson Campbell.
Okay.
Yeah,
There we go.
I'm gonna go with him. I mean, and listen, I saw the disparity. I know Travis Hunter is a rookie, but I saw the disparity between the two when they were in DBs. And Travis looked very small.
Yeah.
Tyson Campbell.
Yeah, he's tiny.
He is tiny.
He's tiny.
I mean, I didn't realize how tiny he was until I saw him standing next to him. I'm like, Tyson Campbell get bigger or did Travis Hunter get smaller? I wasn't sure.
I always say when you stand next to Coach Campo at a practice, Leon, and Tyson Campbell is in proximity, he can't help himself. As a former DB coach, he's drooling. And he's like,
loves him.
He's such a good law. Like there was one time, like 2 summers ago, it must have been the year of the Mech Open. Like we are like how close you are to me right now. Like I'm here, Lauren is Coach Campo, and Tyson is you. And Coach Campo is like, he's such a good-looking long corner. And I'm like, I would feel very awkward right now. But hey, listen, it's a compliment. So
See, I knew about this kid like when he was at American Heritage. They were just raving about
playing
him.
for Sertan.
I was like, wow, that kid that's special. So yes, sir, he's that special.
What did you think when you saw Travis Hunter next to Brian Thomas Jr.?
He's small. Brian Thomas is put together.
Yeah. Correct.
Absolutely put together. So, I think Travis Hunter's got time to grow. I mean, because the weight he has on now, he puts on good lean muscle for the next couple of years, and he'll grow into us all.
Well, and Liam Cohen already said that he was one of the guys that in the offseason program, they had goals for muscle mass gain, and Travis Hunter was one of the guys that gained the most muscle mass, and you can already see it in the upper body. So at least they're impressed so far.
Good for him.
What's coming up today?
Oh, well, we got Jags. We're going to talk a little college football, and this is like our Weird Wednesday. So Weird Wednesday. So I found something where they engineered a headset that records your dreams and will play them back for you in the morning.
I have such vivid dreams. I can already play mine back without said device. Absolutely.
Mine are very vivid.
That got on me because I asked them, do they dream in color? I said, I dream in color.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if everybody would want to rewatch
No, I don't want to rewatch mine, and I already do.
Some of them could be terrifying.
I know.
You don't want to watch it on TV.
Absolutely. All right, thanks,
All right,
Leon.
appreciate it.
We'll be listening. That'll do it for us today. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. XL Primetime and their Weird Wednesday is next, right here on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Gonna walk all over you.